Hello and welcome to RPG Tips again. I'm sorry for the delay in new videos, real life has kept me quite busy in the recent weeks, but this new video is a nice complement to the last one I did. While in the last one I showed you the rule systems and random tables that I like to use for my games, in this one I'm going to show you how I play my games. Some people like to write out their sessions using a notebook, some other people just play in their imaginations without writing down anything. I'm going to first lay out the philosophy that guides my games and then show you how I've brought that philosophy into reality with a set of different tools that I've created. So half an hour ago I was writing down the things that I like when I am solo role playing, and I think I arrived to some quite interesting things. For example, I love to use different tools. I don't like being bogged down to just one system or one set of random tables. But on the other hand, I really don't like bookkeeping. I don't like to have lots of books in my table with different sheets of paper. No, I don't like that. And the reason why I don't like that is because I try to avoid overhead as much as possible. We are all fairly busy in our real lives, and the longer the overhead an activity needs to have before actually doing it, the less often you're going to play it. So I really try to trim down my overhead of solo playing as much as possible. Another thing that I don't like is to be bogged down in details too much. If I find a new NPC, I'm not going to write a detailed history of his life and his family and whatever he does. I'm probably going to generate just the result that I need for the scene to run, and then if I like that NPC, I'll do it after that. But I also enjoy preparing cities, NPCs or whatever I want before or after my sessions, just not during the session. Another point that I wrote down that is really related to the fact that we are all fairly busy is the fact that I'd like to play whenever I have the chance. If the only way you have to play is playing very loud music and activating your smoke machine, hey, that's very cool, but you're only going to have maybe one chance a month or something. I really prefer to be able to play whenever I have the chance, either in the metro, if I have 10 free minutes, whatever, waiting for the doctor, at breaks at work. And the two last points that I wrote down are that I like to record my sessions, writing down the story, how it goes, not in a novelesque way, but at least detailed records of everything that happens. And that I like to record the mechanics specifically. I like to point out what happened mechanically. Because again, I'm not really in this to write a novel. I'm here to play, and making the mechanics explicit allows me to know what happened when I reread my sessions. Coincidentally, when I read other people's sessions, I'm basically looking for an explanation of how they interpreted the mechanics. I really don't like those sessions in which you just read the story. So what all these points boil down to is that I like to have one simple environment that does as much as possible, mainly writing the story and containing the random results that I want to generate. And so I arrived to 3 different solutions depending on the operating system that I'm using. If I'm using Android, which I really don't normally, I would use a Markdown writer paired with Adventure Myth. If I'm on the go, I have an iPhone, so I would use Editorial, which is an application that I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so here we are on my iPad, and this is Editorial. It's a Markdown editor, so you can write whatever you want in Markdown. But the cool thing about this app is that it can be extended using Python, which is a programming language. And I've included myself some scripts to emulate the Mythic Game Master emulator and some other random tables that I liked. For example, if we come here, we can see that I've got different categories for Mythic, Ironsworn, different generators, and dice. And one of the behaviors that I love about Editorial and that I haven't been able to replicate on Mac is that I can define keyboard shortcuts for the generators. So if I'm writing, for example, how does the witch look, then I can create an entry for the specific mechanics, and I would do it GME, detail, chaos factor is 5, fear. Okay, the looks of the witch generate fear, that's cool. And as you have seen, that's a very fast way of generating different results, and it can get as complex as you want. For example, for the GME fate check, I've got a whole UI that I've defined to define the probabilities, and once I ask the things, it gets added to the text. It's a very fast and comfortable way of playing. In fact, I would say it's my favorite environment to play. If I had something like this on Mac, I would be extremely happy. Another very cool thing about Editorial is that you can share every script, every workflow that you have created. In fact, I have shared all of my workflows. They are on the Mythic GME subreddit. I'll post a link on the video description so you can grab them if you want to play with Editorial. Just to show you, some other interesting things that I've got here are generators from Ironsworn, for example, settlement troubles, in league with the enemy, or some of the generators, random city locations, paper parchment maker. If you don't know how to code, really you don't have to be scared about it, at least at this level, because creating functions for your own custom random tables is extremely easy. I'm going to show you one just so you can see it. This is the code for a function that creates a settlement trouble. As you can see, what I have is just all of the troubles in one list, and then I select one at random. It's that easy. I mean, some random tables get a bit more complex, but generally, and for the most easy ones, you can do it even if you don't have any idea how to code. Another thing about Editorial that is quite cool is that it supports synchronization using Dropbox, not iCloud, but I think the developer is actually probably working on updating it, so I assume that it will work soon with iCloud. And it's also supported on iPhone. So using this app, you can have every random mechanic you want in your phone and a markdown file that can be easily exported and converted to whatever you want. I've noticed that I've mentioned Markdown several times and I haven't explained it. Markdown is a very easy markup language that allows you to write only thinking about the content and not how it looks, because it will be interpreted later to a beautiful format that you can also define. The cool thing is that as Markdown files are just plain text files, the cool thing about Markdown files is that as they are plain text files, you can save them using version control systems, you can sync them in whichever way you want because they are just plain text files and they don't weigh that much. And you can open them in almost everything. You can probably open a Markdown file in your freezer. That was my solution for playing on the go. Now, how do I play when I'm at home and a bit more relaxed? Well, I first started using lots of papers. I've still got here the first binder that I used when I started solo role playing. Let me see what I've got here. I've got CRG from Conjecture Games, Perilous Intersections, so that you see I didn't lie when I told you about them the first time. Cheat sheets from Fate, Ironsworn Oracles, the Creature Crafter tables, some hex maps, the Fate chart from Mythic, the General Scarlet Heroes rules. All of this is quite cool and it's really nice and fun to see it, but I don't find it that much usable or fast for playing. Maybe if you have a very big desk where you can lay out everything in an ordered way, it's a bit more usable. I prefer to occupy as less space as possible and have everything condensed, as I said. Which brings me to my solution to play when I am at home, and that solution is called RStudio. R is a programming language which is mainly used for statistics and machine learning, so data analysis normally, but RStudio, which is the environment in which you normally use R, has developed lots of capabilities for writing and creating reports in Markdown, which I think are quite usable for our solo games, and I'll try to show you how now. When you open RStudio, you will see something like this, in which you have a place to write on the upper left part, some strange stuff on the right part which you can ignore, and a console on the lower part. So as I said, if we can ignore it, we can just do it like this, and then we only have our text and a console. Perfect. Now, if we are here, now we can create a new Markdown file. Click in here. It will create a dialog like this. Just click on OK. And we will have a base Markdown file which we can delete. Now here, writing in Markdown is very easy. And to play, I have created a library in R, which is called RPG Tips, which contains most of the functions that I normally use in my games. If you want to see which ones they are, you can do RPG Tips, and then it shows you which ones. We've got the Mythic Game Master Emulator Actions table, Description table, Detail check, Event check, Fate check, Plot points and turning points from the Adventure Crafter. Then we've got some tables from Instant Game, Setting and Tones, some tables from Ironsworn, random city locations, random results from the Game Master Emulator, random magic traditions which I extracted from Shadow of the Demon Lord, random NPC attitudes which I don't really remember where I took that from, a simple oracle, and the universal NPC emulator with options for conversation and NPCs. So the way I use RStudio to generate my results is I play writing here. If I want to generate a result, I generate it under this code blocks. So for instance, let's say I want to generate a fake check result. As you can see, the function suggests the different parameters you can have. I can change the chaos factor or adjust the probabilities. And it has some values by default. If I want to see the results, I click here and the result is a no. Now, there's only one thing that you must do in order to use this library and generate consistent results. These functions are random. So if you execute them to write your story and then generate the output, the results are going to be different. There's only one thing you must do. You must define a variable called seed counter, and you can assign whatever number you want. I like to use 7777. And then when you roll, instead of just calling the function, you call roll table like this. That way the result will always be the same. And the results will be consistent no matter the times you generate the output. I've been talking about generating the output. This is very easily done clicking here, neat. Once you click it, it will ask you to save the document and generate it. And you can see that it will generate it here with everything you've written in a sort of normal, beautiful way. You can also use CSS to customize the output of this. And the cool thing about R Markdown is that it even supports creating websites and books from here. So I'm going to show you, for example, one thing that I've been wanting to do for a bit of time, which is a play in Ravnica, the setting for 5e. And if I come here and knit this book, and the output is a website like this, which is interactive. You can have images, links, and it's formatted with an index and chapters containing the text of your games. I'm aware that the way that I've shown you to play is quite technological based. It requires some programming knowledge, but I really encourage you, if you're not very familiar with it, to at least try it, because probably you'll see that it is a very fast way of generating every random result that you want and keeping a beautiful record of all your plays. Of course, that doesn't mean that my way is the correct way of doing this. As I said in my first video, if you are playing on your own, there is no correct way of doing it apart from the one in which you have fun. This was everything that I wanted to show you for this video. I haven't shown you in detail how to install R and RStudio and R Markdown because that would take a bit some time. And if you are interested, you can ask for it on the Discord or the YouTube comments, and I'll gladly provide you with links and detailed guides on how to do it. But this has been a brief overview of how I like to play my games. For the next videos, I will probably continue the Mythic series line because I still have to do the Creature Crafter, the Location Crafter, and the Adventure Crafter. But I also plan on moving to normal or, well, non-solo RPGs. I plan on showing you some of my homebrew ideas that I use for my 5e campaign. And I also would like to go through my backlog of not that well-known supplements or books from which I think it's very easy to extract ideas. Another thing that I would also love to do is to show you how to play a pre-written module using Mythic, because that's actually something that I'm planning on doing with my girlfriend on the next weeks. So if we do it, I'll show you the results. Anyway, this is the end of this video. I hope you learned something, I hope you had fun, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye bye.